In 2017, the Black family as we knew it is almost extinct.
We have more fatherless homes than ever, and single parent households are increasing at an alarming rate.
Speaking of someone who grew up in a single parent household, it was tough. Yes, I knew who my father was, and I knew both my parents loved me very much. However, living in that household at times made me feel as if I was unwanted. It made me feel as if I didn't know when I would see one parent or the other. Did they not love me enough to stay together? Was it my fault that they separated? All of these questions as a child, I had growing up, and I had no one to actually have that dialogue with. Because as a child, I didn't even know the language to use. All I knew is my dad was not there. He was not physically present when I needed him. So I did things to make sure that he would come back. I acted out. I acted out in school. I acted out at church. I just knew that whatever I did, it had to be bad enough that he would return. The good stuff, yeah, he may or may not show up for, but I knew if I did things that were bad enough, that even if he would come to punish me, he would be there. And that's really all I wanted. I just wanted the family unit that I knew to return and to become whole again. Now, as a child, it's very important that the parents that choose to separate for whatever reason, whether they're married or they only co-parent, it's important that that child feels loved, not just in lip service. They actually have to feel loved. They have to understand that the separation, whenever it happens, for whatever the reason, they are not it. They are not the reason that you separated. They are the reason that you still love each other. You still love the child. They may not be compatible enough as two adults, and that's an adult decision to make. So if you're going to have a child that is being raised in a single parent household, whether you are a single mom or even a single dad, my advice to you, know the language that your child receives information in. Understand that they need to and they want to feel loved. They want to feel supported. They want to feel valued. And those things can only come from you as the parent. There are external people like their cousins or their other extended relatives and extended family that can say that they love them and they can say that they support them, but it's nothing like having a parent's love, especially in a single parent household.
Growing up with both parents in the household, that was a beautiful experience for me. I understand everyone doesn't have that luxury, if you will, to have both parents in the household. But I do feel that that provided the foundation and the base for me. It taught me about stability. It taught me about how roles between a mother and a father should work. And it also gave me a comfort, a sense of that I was safe. And I think that, a lot of children are unfortunately missing that component of feeling safe. And that was what my upbringing, it did for me. I can also remember times growing up, my parents were like anybody else. They did not always get along. They didn't always agree. But one thing I can say, I never saw my parents argue. And so I think that when we look at this whole landscape of where we are today, too many parents and adults, I'm coming for you on this one. You discuss too much of your own issues in front of your children. They're watching. they're modeling themselves after you. People often look at me and, they're like, how did you turn out that way? How did you turn? I have to give credit to where credit is due. My parents, they did a phenomenal job. Now, just because they never argued in front of me does not mean they didn't get along, but guess what? They found ways to settle their differences when I was out of the room. And for me, I don't know what arguing with, I don't know what that looks like, if you will. And maybe that makes me a little green, maybe it doesn't, but I tell you what it does make me. Whenever I see other adults arguing in front of their children, I'm frightened for them, because my mind goes to, that child is going to think that this is appropriate behavior. And in 2017, we're not dealing with the same type of people that we were dealing with when I was coming up. And to that point, you can't start snapping off on people and not expect repercussions. It doesn't work that way. So I think that this whole idea of creating a safe environment and a safe zone for your child, your actions have a lot to do with that. As a parent, you have to understand your actions are going to be directly related to how your children formulate and develop as an adult. So when you see your children doing certain things, I'm not saying that everything your children are doing as an adult is your fault, but some of it may be. And you can't get upset, you can't get mad, and you can't be like, well, I don't know where they got that from. They got it from you. And that's just the real of it. I mean, we're always taught a child stay in a child's place, but a child is like a sponge. They're soaking up everything. And if you are a husband or a father and you're lashing out at your wife, and your son grows up and he's lashing out at women, it's because you taught him how to do it. Same thing, women. If the father's not in the picture and you bash him, you bash the dad all the time, and then you get a daughter who doesn't really give a flip about men and she's always dogging them, you taught her how to do it. So just like you expect your children to take responsibility for their actions, you got to take responsibility for your actions as well.
And I just want to piggyback off of that, taking responsibilities for your own actions. I want to speak to those people who maybe they were raised in a single parent household.
Okay.
This is my message to you. Know that the parents that raised you did so with the information and the knowledge that they had then. Not necessarily who they are now. I know it may be rough. I know it may be tough to forgive. I know it may be tough to forget. I know it may be tough to move forward, knowing that you still have this anger or this resentment and why they weren't there and why they didn't do this. And you may even turn the tables and you try to give everything to your children now that you didn't get or receive from your parents. But you have to know that people do evolve. And more than anything, parents always want a relationship with their children.
Right.
No matter what.
Right.
No matter what they say, no matter how they feel, no matter what they do, a parent is always going to want a relationship with their child. They may not know how that will look. They may not know how that will present itself to the rest of the world, but they still want the relationship. They do not want the relationship to end. They don't want the relationship to die. They don't want it to be severed in any way by anything that they did, which goes back to taking responsibility.
Right.
You have to make sure that whatever responsibility you're going to take, that you own it, that it is yours to have, that it is yours to accept. But then if it's not, make sure that if it's not your responsibility to accept, that you at least have enough grace to forgive.
Right. I also think that we have to remember that when we talk about parenting and parents, there is no guidebook for this.
Right.
There's not like you get pregnant, you get a baby, and then you get a book that says, hey,
this is how you raise this child.
You don't get that. And so, but we also have to keep in mind that the definition of family is changing. We have all types of families. It's no longer just you either have a mom and a dad, or you have a single mom or a single father. Now you have same gender loving parents.
True.
And that's a different landscape and a different territory altogether. I think of this as a computer. It's 2017.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not operating off of a 1993 operating system.
Yes.
You get those updates and they come in and you have to
Download
click to
them.
accept.
Yes.
Otherwise, your computer gonna crash.
Yeah.
And same thing in our lives. I mean, if we as a people do not adapt and change, we're not gonna literally crash, but emotionally,
you will become extinct.
You
will cease to exist.
Yeah, you might have some issues there. So I think that we have to just understand that the definition is changing the family,
Yes.
and that we also taking responsibility. That's key. But one other thing in all of this, love has never changed.
Ever.
Love has not changed. It's still the same as it was yesterday, today, and I guess it'll be forevermore.
And that's what we want to say. We know that love is all-encompassing. It's never changing. And it is the very thing that will either bind people together as a family, as a unit, or tear them apart.
Absolutely.
And we're not doing so and saying that, I'm not talking to you because I love you. Or I'm not saying if you are same gender loving, if your child is same gender loving, and you're saying, well, I don't necessarily agree with how you live.
You don't have to agree.
But I still love you, and
Right.
I love you enough to let you go and live your life without me. That's not love. I'm sorry, but it's not love, and it's not something that your child really wants.
Right.
They just want to be valued. They want to be accepted. They want to be a part of the rest of whatever is going on in the family unit.
Right.
They don't want to be separated. It's not in our design to be separated from each other. So as we live and as we continue to grow and evolve as a family unit, make sure that whatever you are doing as a family, that you contain it inside your family. Yes, there are some things that, we've always heard, whatever happens in this house stays in this house. But no, if you need to know how to love more or love differently, it's okay to get help.
It is. And also one other thing too, I think some of the old concepts, they still hold true today. And I think that is, we have to get to a place where it takes a village.
Yes.
And like I said, there's no rule book to this. And if you are a parent or a grandmother or an auntie or an uncle and you have a millennial,
Yes.
or you have someone who is saying, I'm gay. I mean, these are all new concepts, and you have to really process that. And you have to really think about how to respond to it, and not responding to it doesn't mean it's going to go away.
Absolutely. It takes an educated response. There is a saying that I love. The saying simply says, a soft answer turns away wrath. So that means if someone comes at you angry, you don't have to respond in anger.
Right.
You can be the barometer instead of the thermometer. You can set the tone. You can set the perspective. You can set the platform as to what love will be for you in your family unit.
Right.
Whether you're the parent or the child. Are you enjoying Perspectives? We know you are, and we want to hear from you.
We're all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at David and Johnny. Our YouTube page is David Johnny. And hey, we're right here on realhealthmag.com.